Welcome to episode number 188 of the Marine Layer podcast. We have a few blockbuster trade ideas for the Mariners as winter meetings looms. We will take a look over all of them and see if there's any chance the Mariners could pull any of these off.
This show is brought to you by our friends over at Pagach's Pub 85. December's here. Football season's getting real exciting, both the NFL and college football. The college football playoffs coming up. There's basketball and hockey all going on. What better spot to go watch some games with your friends than right over there at Pub 85? You can play some games, have some great food, and drink specials that you won't find anywhere else. Those happy hour deals, you guys, they are amazing. $3 and $4 drinks. Those are from Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. That's your happy hour. They're long happy hours with awesome deals and everything you need for a great time with your friends. So all of that is over at Pagach's Pub 85 in Kirkland. And here's your reminder before we start this podcast. Please do us a favor. Download these podcast episodes if you're listening. Make sure to rate and review and leave it 5 stars. If you do that, you really are helping us out more than you can even imagine. So be sure to do that if you're listening. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then follow us on social media. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, Blue Sky. We're all of those places. You can find us at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Thursday afternoon, December 5th. The winter meetings start this upcoming weekend. Lyle and I are really looking forward to it. We are going to be there in Dallas starting tomorrow on Friday when this episode comes out. How does Dallas in December sound to you?
Better than Dallas in July when it was 100 degrees and humid.
Yeah, I can agree. It's going to be a little bit fun and a little work. We're splitting this trip now 50-50 of half business, half fun. So we're going on Friday. Lyle and I are really looking forward to going seeing ASU in the Big 12 title game coming up on Saturday morning. Morning football. Fun. But then the winter meetings start Sunday evening, and I'm hoping at that point there will be some sort of Mariners moves to talk about once we get there.
Yeah, we've really been waiting around a while for some moves. I don't know how long we're going to have to keep waiting. Usually we don't have to wait this long, but I hope it picks up sooner rather than later because I'm itching for it.
Is it that shocking? Is it that shocking there haven't been any moves? And I say this for a reason. By the way, before I get into this reason, I just want to remind everyone who could potentially be in Dallas for winter meetings, if you want to say hello, hit us up, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email. We would love to meet up with you guys, get you guys on the mic, and talk some Mariners baseball. It'd be a blast. So if you're in the Dallas area, feel free to hit us up. But as Adam Jude reported earlier this week, when he mentioned what the Phillies were asking for Alec Bohm, it just didn't really shock me that there haven't been any moves. The fact that, as Adam reported, the Phillies are asking for Logan Gilbert or George Kirby for Alec Bohm, I sit there and think, yeah, no shit, there haven't been any moves. Who the hell's paying that price?
Yeah, what a fucking joke. I mean, the Phillies might just be asking for the world as a starting price in a negotiation and it comes down, but if that's really all they're looking for, then yeah, Alec Bohm's not on the trade market because that is an unreasonable, unjust trade package, and Dave Dombrowski knows that. So I'm sure he's trying to finesse the Mariners and see if it'll work, and it's not going to work.
He could just not be available, too. Jude mentioned it when he was on Brock and Salk this morning, that he just might not be available, and the Phillies would only do it if they get some insane deal. And if Alec Bohm's not available, man, the Mariners aren't going to make a move at third base, not realistically at this point, that people are going to be happy about. Because at that point, then it's just Alex Bregman or Yohan Moncada?
God. But the
you want Yohan Moncada?
No.
I think you do.
Do I want Yohan Moncada?
I think you do. It's almost out of the point of so much negativity that you're going to talk yourself into it somehow.
No. In fact, I will be throwing a tantrum on this very podcast if they do that.
You might be your third best option at this point.
Great. And I am not unprone to going on rants on this podcast. Oh, tantrums will be thrown on this podcast if they sign Yoel Moncada and say, yep, that's our third baseman.
Let's be fair to Alec Bohm. Very solid baseball player, potentially some high upside in the future. There's no way he's worth that price. Luis Severino just signed a 3-year contract for $67 million at about, what was that, 20? What's the AAV on that? I can't do math. Regardless, over $20 million AAV for Luis Severino, who's a fine pitcher.
Yeah. It'd be what, $22.33 million a year?
Good math. Good job.
Hey, I went to ASU. They call us the Harvard of the Southwest. You went there too.
That's true. Well, I didn't pay attention in math like you did, apparently.
Oh, no.
If that's the price for Luis Severino, giving up Logan Gilbert or George Kirby for Alec Bohm would be a fireable offense.
Yes. Also, I did not pay attention to math. In fact, I'm atrocious at math.
I know. It was a joke for those who missed it. Lyle did not pay attention to math class.
Or any school class not related to sports media. Yeah. Anyway, you might want to mention, too, about this Luis Severino deal. You said the contract. You want to mention who he signed with?
The A's. The A's gave Luis Severino their highest guaranteed contract in franchise history.
The A's gave Luis Severino a bigger contract than this Mariners regime has ever given a free agent position player by triple the amount. Nearly triple. Mitch Garver's their biggest contract ever given to a free agent position player. And the Oakland fucking A's just gave Luis Severino a 3-year, near $70 million deal, which triples a Mariners free agent position player contract.
Their perspective on this is that the contract of Luis Severino and the remaining contract of Luis Castillo are about the same. $5 million difference in guaranteed money. Castillo's $5 million more. It's 3 for 72 for Castillo. It's 3 for 67 for Severino. If you want some perspective on how the value should be set for this current Mariners rotation.
Well, so that's the other side of this coin. You say nobody's getting moved, the asking prices are too high on everybody, but the other side of this coin is if Luis Severino's getting that, what could the Mariners get for one of these starters? And I know not everybody wants to trade him. I'm not even totally sold on trading one of them. But as you tweeted earlier today, if that's what Luis Severino's getting in free agency, who had a solid year with the Mets, but it wasn't anything crazy to write home about. If that's the deal he's getting, as you put, you should be able to get an entire franchise for one of these Mariners starters.
But that's where you run into a problem of you cannot possibly get the market value of what the current starter is worth back in a trade. No team's going to give that up. If Logan Gilbert's a top 5 Cy Young caliber guy going forward with 3 years of control, making a very reasonable amount of money in arbitration for how starting pitchers are valued these days. How in the world, if Luis Severino's worth that, are you going to be able to get what Logan Gilbert is actually worth on the trade market? What team would give that up?
The Rockies, if they had actual players of value, like how they traded Nolan Arenado for nothing?
Exactly, they don't. Any team that's trading for Logan Gilbert is almost certainly a contender, and contenders wouldn't want to give up that kind of value. At this point, the value of what Logan Gilbert would be, you couldn't get prospects back for Logan Gilbert unless you somehow, like Jackson Holliday would need to be, out of all prospects, which I still qualify him as a prospect because he's gotten a marginal amount of time playing in the big leagues, but he's not proven yet. That's about as prospect as you could get. Otherwise, you're going after proven big leaguers, and there's contending teams wouldn't want to give up proven big leaguers like that, especially if teams like the Cubs, for example, with Nico Hoerner, it's come out that they are expecting big league talent back for Nico Hoerner to compete this year. Who's giving that up?
Maybe the Mariners if they run out of options, because they're going to have to do something. So I don't know. This is why we need moves to start happening. Usually Jerry makes moves earlier than this. I really hope it gets going at the winter meetings because I want definitive things to talk about. And man, I cannot wait for the winter meetings. I can't wait to be there and for all the hot stove stuff to start really going and people going crazy, all that.
It sounds like Soto's going to sign by, Monday morning? So Sunday night when we're there and we're hanging out at the hotel where the winter meetings is, It very well could be that the news starts breaking and the rumors start circulating of where Soto is, and that's really the first snowball effect of winter meetings. That's the part I'm really looking forward to. When we went last time, first of all, we were kind of green. We were at the job fair, and this was back in 2019, and I wouldn't say we weren't hanging around all the newsbreakers all the time. We weren't media and all that such. This time, I think we're going to be a little bit closer to all the action. So when stuff like that goes down, I'm really looking forward to it. Did anything big happen last time in 2019?
So two things. Not I think we're going to be around all the media people and around the action. We will be around the action. That's where we're going to be. We are going to be in the hotel doing media stuff. We have the media access. So, yeah, we're going to be around everybody. If stuff breaks...
But I was going to say, if like John Heyman breaks the news and he's cooped up in his room punching away on his BlackBerry or something.
Oh, we really need to meet John Heyman. Even if he turns us down and is the biggest asshole of all time, I feel like we need to meet him just for some stories. We come back and tell it on the podcast. We tell all of our friends, be like, "Yep, that was John Heyman." I asked him to name 4 Mariners and he couldn't do it.
Jerry Dipoto.
Well,
Scott Service, feel bad for him. Great guy.
Well, they have the Rodriguez kid in center field, but otherwise I was unimpressed in all their games against the Yankees, and they may have beaten the Mets, but they don't give me sources. I think he doesn't like the Mariners, by the way, because they won't give him sources. I've seen people say that before. So I hope we meet John Heyman, and I also hope Juan Soto does not sign before the winter meetings start, because I think that'd be so fun if we are there and everybody is there when Soto signs, because it's going to be chaos. People will go crazy. I want to be there for that.
He is going to sign by the time Wednesday rolls around.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Boras has orchestrated, as he always does, this elaborate plan on how to get guys to sign. But unlike last offseason, Soto's having no problem fielding contract offers.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah, and to answer your question, by the way, there was big dominoes that fell when we were in San Diego for the winter meetings in 2019. But again, it's just that we weren't always around all the action. So Garrett Cole signed during those winter meetings, and that was the big domino. But we weren't really around everything. So this time, we will be. Yeah, I really can't wait. I can't wait for all of it, by the way. You made the trip sound like, it's half fun, half work. I'm going to be honest, as fun as the ASU game's going to be, and I am thrilled that worked out, that we're going to go with a bunch of our friends. Like, yes, we're going to be working by the definition at the winter meetings and getting a bunch of content for us, for you guys, for everybody. It's going to be fun. Like it's fun.
Right. When I say work, I mean, we're not going to be sitting in a cubicle working. We're going to be, out and about talking baseball with people. That's fun. I'm just saying we won't have to really worry about as much on Saturday.
Correct. We will not be doing podcast content or social content of any sorts on Saturday. We will probably be drinking and watching ASU football. So
right.
that is a little different. Yeah. But no, I can't wait. I can't believe this whole thing worked out. In a quick nutshell, TJ and I were supposed to fly out Sunday for the winter meetings, Sunday morning, because months ago we weren't like, well, that ASU team, our boys that won 3 games last year, yeah, they're going to the Big 12 title game. All of a sudden, here we are. And thank you, Alaska Airlines, who just so happened to hear the college football gods and connect them to us, because all of a sudden TJ and I get a text a couple days ago. It's like, hey, you guys want to change your flight and get some travel credit? It's like, well, originally we're like, no, we have places to go. You can change it for Friday and potentially Friday night. We're like, oh, well then. So we can go watch ASU for no charge. Sign us up.
They hit us with the, hey, you up text.
They did.
It worked out. And I was up and I was ready.
I was ready too. A bunch of our friends are going. We're excited for the whole week, and we're going to have plenty of stories to tell everybody throughout it.
If you're in Dallas, hit us up. Hit us up. We want to see all of you guys there. That'd be awesome. So let's get into these blockbuster ideas. A few, they're pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Some of these ideas are off the rocker in terms of, are they realistic? Maybe not. But let's talk through them and let's see if we can rationalize one of these trades happening. Let's start off with this first one. Lyle texts me last night and says, okay. Or no, it was this morning.
No.
Whatever it was.
It was early this morning, so you could call it last night because I was up at 4 a.m. Yeah, sometimes these things happen.
I was asleep.
Yeah, sometimes these things happen between TJ and I where if I have a thought, which sometimes for whatever reason they're really late and TJ's either already winding down or straight up asleep, I'll text him. It's like, well, I don't want to forget this idea. That would be a pain in my ass if I forgot the idea. So I'm going to send him the text. And sometimes he'll definitely look at it and be like, it's like 12:30. Can we do this tomorrow? But I send it anyway because I don't want to forget about it. So this is one of the things I sent TJ. This time it was at like 4 a.m. when I got up this morning. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, because I'd been stirring on it for a bit, thinking to myself, how are the Mariners going to get creative? How are they going to work with this ridiculous $15 budget? Sorry, not the point of this podcast episode. We'll leave that aside. How are they going to do this? How are they going to make this team significantly better by adding offense? And all of a sudden this thought popped into my head, and I brought it up on Brock and Salk here on Thursday morning too. Salk was really intrigued, so now I'm going to run it by all of you guys. I will say, like TJ said, it is off the cuff. It's a little crazy. But if the Phillies can ask for Coby or Logan for Alec Bohm, we can ask for this. So here we go. If the Mariners were to package Luis Castillo and then a couple of their high-end prospects, and I'm going to get aggressive here with these prospects. I'm saying Felnine Celestine, yeah, that probably ruffles some feathers. It ruffles our feathers a little bit. But Felnine Celestine, and I'm going to say either Harry Ford or Johnny Farmelo, whichever this team prefers. Those three guys, Castillo, Celestine, and either Farmelo or Ford. Would the Atlanta Braves entertain the idea ever in some world of trading Austin Riley? Because they need starting pitching badly. Would they be willing to entertain this idea, especially if they could go after Alex Bregman?
Another prospect you could throw in here in Laz, too. The way I frame this is you could include any prospect whose name is not Colt Emerson in this idea. Any two. Mm-hmm. I would assume it would be two of what the Braves view as the Mariners' top 5 prospects, sans Colt. That's it. Nobody is off the table because Austin Riley is one of the most valuable third basemen in baseball. He's one of the most valuable players to the Atlanta Braves organization. And if the Mariners were to go after him, they would need to significantly overpay the market value of Austin Riley to secure him. Because here's the deal with Austin Riley. He's a stud, first of all. 2021, 2022, and 2023 have been the best years of his career. Had a bit of a down year last year in 2024 with the rest of the Braves roster.
He was also injured.
He was also hurt, too. That didn't help. And all part of a really underwhelming Braves offensive season, which leads to the Braves hitting coach now being the hitting coach of the Mariners. But anyway, that's not the point of this trade idea. It would help out for Austin Riley, though. I don't think he'd complain that much. So it's a 136 WRC plus in 2021, 144 in 2022, and 128 in 2023. Stud over there at third base. Provides a ton of value. Hits the ball really hard. Is one of the most productive offensive players in baseball. And he's under contract at $22 million a year for the next 8 years through his age 35 season. And he's got a club option for his age 36 season. You got the control. You got the youth. He's going to be 28 next year. He's in the prime of his career. He plays a position of absolute need for the Seattle Mariners. So you see that and it says, okay, this checks every single box we could possibly want. We're going to make the Braves pick up the phone here. Well, the market value for Austin Riley as a position player is lower than what we are suggesting to Atlanta. To get the Braves to pick up the phone on someone they almost certainly don't want to trade and have probably no interest in trading, you need to say, here's our massive overpay. Pick up the phone and at least hear us out. And that massive overpay starts, I will say, Luis Castillo and him approving a trade to Atlanta, which I would imagine he would. They've developed some very good pitchers, and it's a good place to pitch. Luis Castillo and 2 blue-chip prospects who can be stars for the Braves in the future. I feel like that's a hard trade package to turn down.
It would be very hard to turn down, especially if the Braves think they could pivot and have a chance in the Bregman sweepstakes. But the Braves are also contending. Riley's also one of the core pieces of their team. And while he had a down year this past year, let's call it a down year for Austin Riley standards. For most people, what he did is a good season in 2024. In what was 115 games, give or take, he still had a 116 WRC plus and had 2.5 wins. Now, you play a full season if you're Austin Riley, it's probably closer to 3.5, 4. So, yeah, he is really good. He has a career 840 OPS. He is one of the game's best third basemen. There are years where he is the best third baseman. And the Braves need starting pitching. If they were going to entertain this at all, this is why. I know Chris Sale just won the Cy Young. This guy's in his mid-30s. He was just talking about he nearly retired had it not been for that trade to the Braves. I don't know how much longer he's going to really be this caliber of pitcher. He kind of had a resurgence this year. I don't know if that lasts. So that's one. You've got Ronaldo Lopez, who I think that was a pretty fluky season in itself. I'm not totally convinced he repeats that. You'll have Spencer Strider coming back at some point in 24. But it's not a deep rotation, and you're going to lose Max Fried, likely. You need top-line starting pitching if you're the Atlanta Braves. And for a team that does have a lot of offense, I'm not saying they'd do this. I'm not saying they'd even entertain it. I don't know. They may value him more than anybody in their organization for all we know. But there are reasons for this to be considered, considering the Braves need pitching, Mariners need offense, each have a surplus of the other.
There's two more stages of this trade I want to get to. So let's entertain the second stage of this trade where the Atlanta Braves say they don't want someone on the other side of 30 like Luis Castillo, or Luis Castillo tells the Mariners, I'm not willing to go pitch in Atlanta, and I'm going to right now execute my no-trade clause, and I'm going to stay on this roster. That puts the Mariners in a pickle. If they're going to offer the Atlanta Braves, they need a pitcher who is willing to go there or has no contract that would block a trade like this. Let's put it in the Braves' plate, and let's say the Braves say no to Luis Castillo because they don't want an older arm. So you say, okay, we're getting the impression Logan Gilbert does not want to sign an extension in Seattle. Would you take Logan Gilbert and 2 top 5 prospects for Austin Riley? I personally think, first of all, that is the most value the Mariners would ever put out in any trade package this offseason. Logan Gilbert and, say, Felnin and Laz. That would be the most value they would package together to another team this offseason to acquire a bat. I think that, personally, from the Mariners' side of this, I think that would be really hard for the Braves to turn down. That would be your best offer. And if the Braves say no to that, then the Braves aren't trading Austin Riley. That's how I sort of take that side of it.
Here's my only response to that in question. Part of the reason this Luis Castillo thing works out for both sides is the money's pretty similar. Austin Riley makes $22 million a year each of the next 8 seasons. His contract doesn't balloon up by any means. The Braves structured that thing well. It is 22, 22, 22, etc. every year. Luis makes $24 million each of the next 3 years. So the money's pretty similar there. Here's where you run into an issue if you're the Mariners because they won't spend any money. Anyway, if you have to take on Austin Riley's money but you're giving up Logan Gilbert, you are adding payroll. So does that hamper things?
No, because then you go shed payroll. You can shed Mitch Haniger if you want to. Trust me, I don't think it's that difficult with the prospects you have to go shed Mitch Haniger's money. You
right.
Just trade him and his contract away for cash considerations. Attach a prospect or two, and the money's gone, and all of a sudden you're good.
Sure.
The same thing with Mitch Garver. It's all about if you want to. That's
right.
the problem. When you limit yourself with the budget, there are options for you with a deep farm system and a loaded pitching core, especially on your big league roster, to do things like this. That's not as much of an issue. That's not what the Mariners want to do, but at that point, if you were acquiring Austin Riley, sorry, but all of a sudden, some of these future infield prospects for you don't really matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
You have your infield. You're targeting these next few years to go win, not whether or not your infield will be good in 2032.
You sit and wish every night that any of your prospects turn into Austin Riley. That's your hope. Austin Riley is one of the game's best third basemen when he's healthy and at his best. And he's club controllable, too. Do you think it would cost both Felnin and Laz if Logan was the headliner of the package still?
For Austin Riley, yes.
Mm-hmm. Would you consider that? I think I would.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love Laz and Felnin. I love the idea of them. But that's the problem, Lyle. They're an idea right now. They're young kids in the minor leagues. They seem totally awesome. Great personalities. They embody what the kind of culture the Mariners want coming up through their system. And in the future, they could be great. And Logan Gilbert is the model of the Mariners' pitching development and how great they are and how you can continue to tinker and evolve throughout the years and years and years. But as we've mentioned on this podcast, it doesn't feel like from people we've talked to about this that he's 100% certain. It doesn't sound like he's as inclined to sign an extension in Seattle. So that means there is, it opens up way more options to trade Logan Gilbert away. It's as much as it stinks, it lessens the pain a little bit. It's like, well, you either trade him and get value back, or you get nothing.
Right.
And which is it?
So 2 pieces of response to that. I'll throw both of them at you. Number one, if you're a Mariners fan, but I'll ask you for the sake of all our listeners to throw it at you, would you rather trade Logan Gilbert for Austin Riley or just let Logan Gilbert walk eventually? Personally, I'd rather have Austin Riley.
Mm-hmm. And you never trade guys for what's in the best interest of the guys you're trading away. But Logan Gilbert's from Florida, and say he wants to get, I would say East Coast, but in Logan's case, I'll say back to the South. He wants to get as close to the South as possible. That's the best case scenario for Logan, is to go to Atlanta. They could pay him. They'll pay him. They have no problem paying guys they believe in the future on long-term extensions.
Mm-hmm. Well, the 2 Florida teams aren't paying him his money, that's for sure. So, yeah, Atlanta.
Not a chance. And the Mariners would never trade him to the Houston Astros, which is another team in the South. So the next best option for Logan would be Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Here's the second part of this, too. What you mentioned about the prospects. Yeah, I hope Belnine Celestine and Lazaro Montes come up one day, if they're here by then, and are superstars. It would hurt to trade Belnine Celestine. It really would, because that guy's ceiling is Francisco Lindor. And that's why I'd be so devastated in a lot of ways. It would be a real gut punch to see him go. But obviously for somebody like Austin Riley, you have to do it because, like you said, he's an idea. And the Lazaro Montes part of this is the bigger part. The thing about him as a prospect is, who could he be at his absolute best, like everybody likes to compare him to? Yordan Alvarez, at his best. The unfortunate truth, though, about Lazaro Montes is if, and it's an if, he does not continue to hit, say he gets to Double-A and is not the same hitter that he's been in A-ball so far, then who is he as a prospect? Because he doesn't really have defensive value. He's not that fast. So in that sense, yeah, he really is an idea as well, because he's only got one big tool and it has to hit for him to have value.
He's a risk is what he is as a prospect.
Right. And more so than the guys who can play defense.
There would be no reason to put him on a big league roster unless he's ready at the plate. Mm-hmm. It's not the case for every prospect, but for him it is. Mm-hmm. Cole Young, for example, could not be all the way developed as a prospect, but everything he offers athletically, you could put him on the big league roster as a left-handed hitting second baseman. Laz as a left-handed hitting DH, I mean, we're talking about he needs to be excelling in Double-A to see time at the big leagues.
Right.
For this version of the Mariners. Because we're envisioning the Mariners being in a contention window, not rebuilding. In rebuilding, I mean, you put prospects on rosters all the time that aren't necessarily ready just to get them big league time and help them develop. Mariners don't have time for that right now.
Mm-hmm. No, they don't. They need to win now, and they need impact bats. And again, you know they're going to get creative, and they're going to have to get creative. Because let's be real. Whenever does the guy that's in the news and in baseball media rumors about, oh, the Mariners are linked to this guy, when does Jerry ever trade for that guy? Never. So like all this Alec Bohm stuff feels like because there's so much hot stove stuff about it, because the block's so hot about it, that it's not going to happen. That's not going to be the guy he trades for. The guy he trades for is going to be somebody out of nowhere who you're not expecting. Well, let me say it again. Do I think this deal happens in the end? No. Probably not, I should say. However, if the Phillies have the audacity to ask for Logan Gilbert or George Kirby in exchange for Alec Bohm, it is not crazy. It is not crazy to offer this package, Logan Gilbert, Belnine Celestine, Lazaro Montes, a real package for Austin Riley. Now, you might say, you watching this, you listening to this, might say, yeah, the Braves aren't going to do that. Fine. But it's not an unrealistic package.
What we offer is not an unrealistic package. But you want to know why this trade might actually not happen? We wanted to get a perspective from the Braves side of things, so we reached out to someone we know who covers the Braves and asked.
I don't think it's a problem to say it. He's a friend of ours. He's been on the podcast. So
and we've had him on the podcast. Justin Toscano covers the Braves for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Yeah. He will also be at the ASU game with us on Saturday.
And winter meetings.
And winter meetings, yeah. Winter meetings first, but we're all going to the ASU game because he's a Cronkite grad and ASU grad like us.
We hit him up this morning before recording this and said, hey, so we had this idea we wanted to talk about. What do you think? And so the first thing he said is that the Braves view Riley, not shockingly, as essentially right up there with Ronald Acuna in terms of importance to the core of the Braves team. He put them as 1A and 1B. Not shocking. But then the thing he said after that I think shocked us a little bit more on what he thinks it would take for the Braves to move Austin Riley. Here's the package. He said it would take Luis Castillo, another starter from the rotation, and then 3 top 10 prospects in the Mariners system. Castillo, say Bryce Miller, and then 3 top 10 guys for Austin Riley, for the Braves to pick up the phone. I was like, what?
So that essentially means, yeah, Luis, Bryce Miller, Felnine, Laz, and you want to say somebody toward the lower end of the top 10, Michael Arroyo?
Sure.
That's a lot. Yeah, that is a ton. And again, I think you and I are both sitting there like, okay, I know he's the beat writer for the team, but he can't be serious with this, right? He can't actually say this is the package. But to be fair to what TJ's saying and to what Justin's probably telling us is whether that's market value or not, that might be what the Braves say. This is how much we value him. We would not give him up unless it's for this. And obviously, to Justin's credit, he's around Braves people every single day, certainly more than we are. So we were pretty taken aback when we heard that. But when we asked him about it, that's what he said. And he's great at his job. He's a phenomenal reporter. And we're like, well, maybe this trade ain't happening.
That package says Austin Riley's not available, much like Alec Bohm.
Right.
If these are the prices for premium players on the trade market, the trades aren't happening. Not these trades.
Right.
We think about this. That trade package for Austin Riley, not happening. The ass trade package for Alec Bohm, that's not happening. Major league players for Nico Horner, unless it's Luis Castillo, is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the trades going to be? Where are those impact trades?
And at this point, if you're trading Luis for Horner, the Mariners should be getting more back than that for what the pitching market is.
I would say it depends on the money, but yeah.
Sure. But yeah. So again, I don't think the package we put together for Austin Riley's crazy. If I were the Mariners, I'd absolutely pick up the phone and ask. You got to at least ask. You need help at third base. Doesn't mean the Braves would say yes. So, yeah, like the Mariners would give up 1 starter. I don't think they're giving up 2 starters.
Who would they give up 2 starters for in baseball? Shohei?
Yeah, there we go.
Well, yeah. See if the Dodgers are interested. They need starters still.
I don't know. I mean, who else is even like young and controllable that you could even make an argument for? Gunnar?
After Juan Soto signs his contract.
Yeah. Right. That's about it.
It's crazy.
So, yeah.
So the market right now is insane for any sort of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have seen that average starting pitchers are valued insanely high, and the trade market is jacked up right now. Mm-hmm. That's why there have been no moves.
So you want to hear another idea then, as we put a bow on Austin Riley and transition to idea number 2 that is still a blockbuster move, and it includes a chain line of events, but it's interesting. I'll say that. Are you intrigued to hear it?
Let's do it.
So I can't take all the credit for this. I was talking to one of our Twitter friends, one of our Mariners Twitter friends, named Jage, who I'm sure some of you have seen on Twitter. His @ name is @thejagepage. You guys should go follow him. He's really smart. Good follow, smart Mariners fan, knows his stuff. He's from the East Coast and lives on the East Coast, but he's never even been to a Mariners game in Seattle. But anyway, he is a diehard Mariners fan. That's his team, and he's invested. So we've been floating some trade ideas back and forth, just kind of talking about it. He likes to talk about this stuff. And one of the things that we floated out there, among many, this is the one I wanted to bring to the table, that he suggested, or he at least lightly threw it out there, and I kind of took it from there. I was like, oh, this would be really interesting. So I just want to make sure I give him the proper credit for that. So, TJ, we keep talking about, not a lot of teams seem that interested in taking prospects, and the market for trades right now is crazy because everybody wants proven big league talent. Here's one team I think we can definitively say is not that interested currently in proven big league talent? That's the Chicago White Sox, right?
Yep.
Fair to say? They are not interested right now in proven big league talent. They are one of the few teams in baseball who would be interested in a haul of prospects because they are in a full-on rebuild. So here's my thought. What if you trade for Garrett Crochet? Now, all of you are going to say, well, Lyle, what are you talking about? You're going to give up serious prospects for another pitcher? You're going to give up serious assets for a pitcher? Hear me out on this. Again, there's a chain line of events. The White Sox are one of the only teams that would take prospects. So you give up the prospects necessary to get Crochet. Now you've got 6 starters, obviously. So now you've got the ability to trade one, and you have the comfortability to trade one. So let's circle back here to Luis Castillo and circle back to a team we've linked him to a bunch, in the Orioles. Maybe the Orioles wouldn't trade Westberg for Castillo. I wish they would, but maybe they won't. They certainly wouldn't trade Gunnar or Holiday. What about Coby Mayo? Not proven, still in the prospect range. Did he technically graduate? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He has a cup of coffee in the big league so far. But he plays third base, has drawn comps to Austin Riley for what his game looks like. He is that good offensively and has been in the minors, and has 6 years of club control. What if you were to trade for Garrett Crochet, and then trade Luis Castillo to the Orioles for Coby Mayo? Believe it or not, there's another chain line to this afterwards, but here's the thing. That's your third baseman for the next 6 years. You've got him. He's in place. This guy is a top 10 prospect in baseball. He hits 30 home runs a year in the minors. He walks at a good rate. He is a great hitter. You have your third baseman in place all of a sudden, and you still have the best rotation in baseball. You've just flipped out Luis for Garrett Crochet. I'll get to the final piece in a minute, but how is this sounding so far?
Go through your final chain line event, and then we'll go through it step by step.
Okay. So if you trade Luis Castillo to the Orioles for Coby Mayo, who's not going to cost any money, you're assuming the Orioles are still going to take on some of that deal of Castillo's. Frees up some money for the Mariners, right? It should. They shouldn't be taking on all that money still after trading him away. And if $15 million is really the budget they have this offseason right now, trading away Castillo would free up some money. So if you trade his $24 million away and the Orioles take 2/3 of it, even half of it, let's say, frees up a lot. $27 million, you're freed up to really do something impactful all of a sudden. What if all of a sudden, after those 2 moves happen, you go sign Christian Walker? You're in the range for Christian Walker. The fit makes sense. It's not a long deal, 3-year deal, $20 million a year, whatever. Now all of a sudden, you have your third baseman of the future. You've got your first baseman. You've still got the best rotation in baseball because you have Crochet. Yeah, you gave up some prospects. That roster feels pretty damn good. The one position still in question would be second base, but they're most equipped to fill that one internally than the others. Eventually, that'll be Cole Young's job. I got to tell you, if they were able to pull all of that off and all these things that JJ and I talked about in terms of what if they got creative with this, yeah, I'd be pretty fired up.
Step by step. Let's start step 1. When you float this Garrett Crochet idea out, the return package to the White Sox is going to be really painful, which is expected. Given the market price for starting pitching and a player of Crochet's value who was amazing this year, was worth nearly 5 Fangraphs wins above replacement. When you hear Garrett Crochet's name on the trade market and the White Sox are okay just taking prospects, especially with who you're getting in the latter stages of this trade, Garrett Crochet is going to cost Colt Emerson. Are you going to be okay with that? Answer that question as a Mariners fan. If you were to acquire Garrett Crochet, it is going to cost you Colt Emerson. Are you okay with that? Yes, it will. 4 years of ARB/league minimum for Garrett Crochet, who has the potential to finish top 5 in Cy Young. That's the price.
I think you could get it done for more of a package of some of the other guys.
Nope.
I think you can.
No way. Nope.
I think you can do it for Felny and Montez and maybe another.
No.
I do.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think it's quite costing Colt Emerson.
No. Based on what the market is, that's what it's going to cost. But you also, if you're trading for Coby Mayo, you don't need Colt Emerson.
Well, you still want a shortstop one day. JP's not hitting great. He's not going to be around forever. I think you still do.
I think it's going to cost you Colt Emerson.
All right, so we differ on this.
4 years of control for Garrett Crochet, who will be, 25 age 26 next year as a starter in your rotation, who's going to get up to about 170, 180 innings next year. Mariners think they could keep him healthy. He's got just insane upside as a pitcher. He's huge. He throws 100, and he's one of the best strikeout artists in baseball. Then would be going to an organization that actually knows how to develop and grow pitchers. The White Sox don't, frankly. So at that point, you would be willing to trade whatever to get him, if you really think that. But if it's just prospects and not big leaguers, I think Colt Emerson's the price.
Crochet has 2 years of control. It's not 4.
Oh, wait, no, I think it was... he's in his first year of arbitration. I think it's 3.
No, he's about to be in ARB 2. He's got 2 years of control. He's a free agent in 2027.
Okay, so then it might not actually cost Colt Emerson. Scratch
Thank you.
that.
Thank
okay, congratulations. I misread the contract on Garrett Crochet. Anyways, he's going to be expensive still.
Yes.
Still not going to be an easy trade package.
Correct. No, it will not. It will not be an easy trade package, and you are going to have to give up prospects that you really like. But for 2 years of them, I think you could do this. Maybe it costs you Felnine. I think there's a world you can do this for Lazaro Montes, Michael Arroyo. Maybe somebody like Peter Farmello has to be put in there too. I think it looks something like that. Yeah, no, if this was going to cost Colt Emerson, I know you're not supposed to hug on to prospects when you're trying to win, but he's the one where I'd get cold feet and say, yeah, I don't think you can do that. 2 years of Garrett Crochet, I don't think it quite costs that.
Would you have given up him for 4 years, like it was like I originally had thought? For 4 years of Crochet, would you have given up Colt?
It's hard. I don't. I mean, okay,
do you want to win?
Basic standards say you have to do it, but he is the one where it's tough to say you'd give that guy up.
I'm sorry, man. If the Mariners are trading and adding to their 2025 roster, I don't want to trade Colt, but at some point, if that's the price.
Okay. Luckily, it's not. In that hypothetical situation, you'd probably have to do it. However, I don't want to. If you're
Here's the unfortunate thing for the Mariners. Based on how the trade market is right now, there are candidates out there that would cost you Colt.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, there is. I don't know if that's Crochet, but there could be players out there that cost you Colt Emerson. All right, but let's keep going down this chain line here. Let's say you get the Crochet piece done. What would you throw out prospects-wise for 2 years of Crochet? Is something like Montez, Arroyo, and Farmello worth it? Or would they
perhaps
would they
one
do that?
more? Perhaps one more.
You think?
He's still controllable.
Yeah,
not
maybe
making
they want
a ton of money.
Yeah, maybe they'd want one of the pitchers too. Who knows? So maybe it's a couple bats and an arm. We'll see.
They can get it done, though. But yeah. Crochet, I will say, is going to be pretty coveted. It's not going to be only the Mariners bidding.
Right. So you might have to outbid.
Right. Which would mean you overpay for it. But as we said, overpay, so what? You have to get it done.
Right.
So the Mariners get that done. They have 6 starters. I think once you have 6 starters, it is, in theory, a little bit easier to convince a Luis Castillo who would look at the rotation and see himself as an odd man out in the rotation and be more willing to waive your no-trade clause to go somewhere else, in which case, that's where you pitch the idea to the Orioles for Coby Mayo. Now, if you're willing to eat some of Castillo's money, given that you are going to acquire... Well, you said you wanted to trade some of Castillo's money or all of it away. Did you say part or all?
Depends on what the Orioles would take on. If you could trade all of it, great. I don't know if they take all of it. Let's say half.
Well, if they take all of it, you would just get Mayo back. If you ate some of the money, you could get more than just Coby Mayo back, I think. Wouldn't be an insane second piece, but it would be something else.
Sure. Depends on what the Mariners value. If they traded away all $24 million of Luis Castillo and got Coby Mayo back, then think about what that frees up. If they have $15 million to spend right now, that turns into 40. All of a sudden, you could sign Christian Walker. I know we'll get to this later. You could sign Christian Walker and trade for Nico Horner if you found the right price for him.
Yeah.
You could.
It is a risk trading for Coby Mayo, though. It is no guarantee he will be a good big leaguer in 2025. He's done everything to prove himself ready for the big leagues in the minors last year. It's not a guarantee. This is still, I would say, a bit of a risk. You offset that, I would say, by signing a proven veteran at first base who can hit. But then you are entering someone in Christian Walker who's played in a hitter's park for his entire career down in Arizona and mashing. And then on the other side, you put an unproven prospect at third base. As you said, they're playing for the next 6 years. That would be their plan, but it's not a guarantee, unfortunately. So this is, we're talking about ideas. This is a great idea. But there is a chance that even if you go and execute all of these things, this would not guarantee a success on the infield for the Mariners in 2025.
It wouldn't.
You try.
It wouldn't guarantee, but we're going to keep circling back to this. How many options do they have? They're not signing Bregman. They're not signing Adames. They are going to have to get creative, and you're going to have to take some risks. Let me outline Coby Mayo a little bit. I'm sure there's plenty of you listening who know plenty about him, but for those who may not, let's outline Coby Mayo a bit. All right, he is 22 years old. He's about to turn 23. He is a corner infielder. He plays first and third. Here's what he did this past year in AAA for the Orioles. He hit .287. He had a 135 WRC plus with 22 home runs in what was just 89 games. He missed some time with an injury earlier this year. So despite an injury, he had a 135 WRC plus and still hit 22 bombs. This guy can flat out mash. He had a 926 OPS. Oh, by the way, in 2023, between AA and AAA, I mean, he went off in AA, but in AAA in 23, he had a 905 OPS. He had a WRC plus sitting at 127 after putting up a 178 in AA. This guy, again, I cannot stress it enough. He flat out mashes. He gets comps to Austin Riley between the profile, body type, how he plays. He is not Austin Riley, at least not yet, but he gets comped to Austin Riley. This is as good a bat as you're going to find in minor league baseball. He's a top 10 prospect, and he's blocked right now. The Orioles don't have a spot for him at the moment. Their roster's loaded. He's not going to play third base. That's Westberg's spot. So all of a sudden, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, unless the Orioles want to trade Westberg instead.
Great.
Re-up that conversation. But if Orioles fans don't want to give the Mariners Westberg, then they can give us Coby Mayo.
People should be excited if the Mariners trade for Coby Mayo. He is a real bat with the potential to be an all-star caliber hitter for this team. It's never a guarantee with prospects, but that's who this guy is. So, yes, I would entertain this. He's a controllable 23-year-old bat who can play the corner infield.
Let's get to our last idea here. This one also includes Luis Castillo, a popular man these days.
Oh, wait. Before that, though, anything about the Christian Walker part of this, or no?
Duh, yes. If they have money to sign Christian Walker, they should sign Christian Walker.
Okay, great. And then all of a sudden, yes, you have
that's
Coby
the
Mayo.
Least debatable point in this entire podcast.
Correct. But then you have Coby Mayo and Christian Walker on your infield, and who knows, if you trade all of Castillo's money, yes, maybe you could sign Walker and trade for Horner. Then look at your team. Look, I'm as pissed off as anybody. I know you are too about what this payroll budget is for the Mariners right now. But there are still ways to get creative here where they can have an impactful offseason. And we know Jerry's not just going to do the simple thing. So here we are on this episode, getting creative for people. Getting creative. How can they make this happen? How can they put a real competitive roster on the field? And I'll tell you, switching out Luis in your rotation for Garrett, Crochet, you lose 1 year of club control between Luis and Crochet, fine. But you do that, and then you get Coby Mayo, and then you get Christian Walker. Yeah, I'm down.
Let's get to that last option. This one also includes Castillo, but this time he's going to the Boston Red Sox for Triston Casas. You came up with this. Why did you think of this?
It's funny, a few people sent it in on the text line during Brock and Salk this morning. A couple people were asking me specifically, Lau, what do you think about this? I was like, yeah, it's been thrown out there a little bit. I don't hate it. What I told those people was, are the Red Sox going to trade Triston Casas? I know that's the question here in all these trades is, would Team X trade their star player, star prospect? Would the Red Sox trade Triston Casas? if they're all in for Juan Soto right now, which through all the reports, not the fake ones, but the actual ones, they are in this, and they're trying to spend big and win now, it doesn't really feel like they'd trade Juan Soto and move off of Triston Casas, but you never know. Casas is very controllable, and he's been injured. Look, it would be a hard sell to the Red Sox to get them to do it, but guess what? Like the Braves, Red Sox need starting pitching. They need starting pitching.
Everyone needs starting pitching except the Mariners, pretty much.
Oh, but the Red Sox rotation's really nothing special.
I know. Would they trade him? I get the feeling from scouring through the online hellscape that is Twitter now of Red Sox fans. They don't want to trade Triston Casas. If you were to get this trade, like the ideal world is trade because the Red Sox are big market, is that if it's a 1-for-1 swap, it's Luis Castillo and all of his money to Boston for Triston Casas, and that's it. And I say that because Casas is a first baseman. He hits, he's young, yes, but doesn't offer much value besides his bat. So the trade, if you want to make it a 1-for-1 swap and don't ask for more in return, requires the Red Sox to take on Castillo's money. But if they're not really willing to trade Triston Casas away, the incentive would be the Mariners eat some money and trade Castillo for Casas, or if this is an accurate value trade, you go Castillo for Casas and someone else back, whether it be a prospect like Braden Montgomery they just drafted. That, in terms of a high-end prospect, that's a realistic guy you could get back for what Luis Castillo's worth, or someone else off the Red Sox roster. But if the Red Sox plan on competing next year, I don't really think they want to trade anyone else off their big league roster. This one just gets a little bit more complicated because at least we can, I feel like in the two previous trades, we can find a little bit more ways to justify a team wanting to make a trade like this. Red Sox doesn't quite make as much sense.
Yeah. And they don't have as much depth to work with either. So it would be a difficult trade to pull off, sure. But when teams need starting pitching, sometimes people do things that are a little eye-opening to get that starting pitching. And if they feel like they sign Juan Soto and they look at their roster and say, we have maybe the best hitter on planet Earth, maybe the best hitter of this generation, but don't have the pitching staff to help him out, that's the reverse Mariners. You've got this unbelievable bat with no pitching to help him out, the way the Mariners have this insane rotation with an offense that can't do anything to support him. So if the Red Sox miss out on a lot of the free agent starters, which I'm sure they'll be in on, Fried, Corbin Burns, etc., maybe they're interested in this. This is another thing with the Mariners, too. There's a world there they wait a lot of this stuff out. Because let's say that the Red Sox, for example, since we're talking about Casas, let's say the Red Sox get Soto. Let's say they do it. And then let's say they're targeting some starters, too. But they miss on Corbin Burns. He goes elsewhere. They miss on Max Fried. He goes elsewhere. They miss on some of those top-line starters, and they're looking around saying, all the big starters are gone. We need top-end starting pitching. What are we going to do? That's where the Mariners can come in. And all of a sudden, when some of these free agent starters are off the market, Mariners may be able to jack the price up. And then maybe Triston Casas comes into play.
I also think, though, that this is one of the least likely places Castillo would approve to go. It's a terrible pitching environment in the worst division to pitch in baseball. Mm-hmm. Why would Luis, at this point, right, for this next calendar year, we need to consider what Luis Castillo would want, too. Why would Luis Castillo want this?
Look, it's a complicated trade. You're right. He may say no. He's like, I don't want my 300-foot flyouts banging off the green monster for doubles. It's possible.
At least with the Braves option, Castillo's going to a winner with a chance to get a ring on his finger, which I'm sure he really wants. But in Boston, they went to the CS in 21, but since then, until they've jumped in these Soto sweepstakes, they haven't shown any indication they're willing to push all in for anything. A World Series, like this, since they won in 2018, they had not shown the willingness to put everything, all their chips on the table and go out and win like some of the other teams in their division have. And I know Castillo would raise an eyebrow at that. On top of the park, too.
Well, yeah, they traded Mookie Betts for essentially nothing. So that doesn't help their cause. Although I will say, do you think Castillo's opinion of the Red Sox changes if they land Juan Soto?
Probably does. They're both Dominican.
Mm-hmm. And he just may look at the Red Sox as more of a winner.
Yeah, serious, and one of his countrymen there too is very incentivizing too. So it signals two great things at once, and they'll be there with Rafi too. I mean, I'm sure he would fit in on the team. It's just, does he want to pitch in Fenway, Yankee Stadium? Well, not the Trop, not this year, or Camden, or Rogers Center. Well, Camden, I guess, is more of a pitcher's park now, or Rogers Center.
Yeah.
For, what is it, a third of the season?
Right. Although, wait, isn't Camden actually moving their fences a little bit back in now all of a sudden? Didn't you see that?
Which gives him even less reason to want to pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a complicated trade. We're throwing out multiple ideas. We're trying to see what could work, how they upgrade the offense, how they fill their positions of need. And we've laid out 3 ideas that are pretty intriguing. You might not agree with all of them. You might not agree with any of them. But hey, at least do us a favor, especially if you're watching on YouTube, even if you're listening. Let us know which one of these do you like the best, which one of these do you think is the most realistic. If you're watching on YouTube, just drop a comment. You guys know. But if you're listening, you can either go on YouTube and drop a comment, or you can always DM us too, wherever you want. We'll see it. We'll respond. We're interested to hear what you guys have to say and what you think. So, yeah. Look, if the Mariners are going to be good in 2025 offensively, they're going to have to look at some things like this. Could trading for Alec Bohm help? Yes. Would I be fine with the Mariners trading for Alec Bohm? Yes, as long as it doesn't cost a starter, which it won't. But they're going to have to get creative. Again, and Jerry always gets creative. He never does the thing that anybody expects him to do. So we're almost trying to pick the brain of Jerry DiPoto a little bit and get into his mind, saying, what could he be cooking up here? What could he be thinking through to help get this team to the place it needs to be? And these type of trades, even if it's not what ends up happening, feel like the type of thing that DiPoto may be trying to look into.
If I'm going to offer you odds, Lyle, if we're going to make some winter meetings predictions here, what happens first when we're at winter meetings? Is it Juan Soto signs, or the Mariners may, or well, actually, you know what? I'll say Juan Soto signs or the field of literally anything else.
The field for the Mariners or anything, period?
Anything, period. Mariners is too specific.
But the field could be Lance Lynn signed somewhere on a 1-year deal.
Let's say a field blockbuster.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably say Soto. It feels like in terms of the marquee guys, both on the trade block and in this free agent market, at this point, with it being days away reportedly that Soto's going to sign, they're probably waiting for Soto at this point, and then things will really get going.
Yeah, let's hope so, and hope that means by the time we're done in Dallas, the Mariners will have someone new.
I hope so. Hey, when we're walking around the hotel and meeting people and doing content with people, we got to start putting our ideas out there. Brock told me this week, he says, Lyle, we need you to make a scene at the winter meetings. We need people talking about you. He said, we need people talking about you nationally and locally. I was like, listen, if the Mariners do something stupid at the winter meetings, I will make a scene. I'll lose my shit. I don't care. Yes. Well, so me making a scene is in the betting odds of possibilities. I'll tell you that.
Wasn't his other quote is we're finally going to get content? So this not only needs to happen at winter meetings, but it probably should happen like late at night, like maybe you've had a beverage or two and the emotions are flowing a little bit, and
dude, if
the Mariners salary dump somebody.
Yeah. If the Mariners sign Yoan Moncada while we're at the winter meetings, especially if it's at night when we've had a few drinks or whatever, I will be happy to record some reaction video. You recording me, we just title it, Breaking Mariners Just Signed Yoan Moncada. I am happy to start yelling in the hotel lobby and chuck my sweatshirt onto the ground and saying, Feeble, 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 or whatever. So, yeah.
Well, as long as we don't get kicked out.
Sure. I'm sure people yell in the hotel lobby. You know what we need to do, too? Talk about me, first impressions. We need to finally meet Jeff Passan. And when we do, once we exchange the pleasantries, say who we are, nice to meet you, fan of your work, etc. So, Mariners are trading for Kyle Tucker.
Rated on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes. Talk about first impressions. Just no fluff.
Come again.
Straight facts. Straight facts.
Did I hear you correct? Did I hear you correctly?
Listen, Jeff, you're
yes.
probably going to respond and say, the Astros would never trade their best player, and if they did, why would they trade him to their in-division rival who's also competitive? To which I say, all totally valid, fair, well-thought-out points. And I reject all of them. He's a Mariner.
We'll see how it comes across.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's all going to be fun.
But then Jeff's going to say, okay, the Mariners will trade for Kyle Tucker in exchange for Julio Rodriguez.
Well, you only get 1 year of Kyle Tucker at this point.
Well, Jeff still might say that.
Well, build us the package, Jeff. Build us the package. No matter what the package is, it'll be content for this podcast. Kyle Tucker, he's going to be a Mariner. Come on. Like, we know he's going to be a Mariner. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the winter meetings. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have stories for you guys. We will be doing a ton while we're there. So seriously, if you guys want to stay on top of it, because we're going to try to be bringing you guys a lot, follow us all across social media. Follow our national account too, Bullpen Banner, by the way, where we're going to be doing a ton of stuff this week. Also, where we're everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
We are going to do a pod from winter meetings too.
Yes. I'm guessing we'll be recording that podcast at some point on Monday. So we'll have part of the winter meetings wrapped up and stuff to fill you guys in on. And then when we do our next Friday podcast, we'll have the entirety of the winter meetings wrapped up, in which we can fill you in on whatever blanks that we may miss after we record our Wednesday pod. But anyway, we're going to fill you in on all of it with those two podcasts. And additionally to that, if you're following us on social media, I promise we will be doing a ton. So stay updated on all that, because anything we get, we're going to bring to you. So we're going to try to be everybody's eyes and ears. We'll do our best. We can promise that. And we're going to have a blast. So no matter what, we will have stories and we will have content. So I can't wait. All right. I think that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form pod, you can do so wherever you get your audio podcast. Make sure to download. Make sure to rate and review. Please leave a 5-star review. It really does help if you do. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. It just takes a second, guys. It's easy. The big red subscribe button, just click it. It supports the channel big time. And then on social media, again, you got every incentive to follow along with us across socials. So do that. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, Blue Sky, @MarineLayerPod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.